Great. I'll hand it over to Mark. And is it Rob too, who's also working on
Yeah,
this?
yeah, Rob's also here as well.
Wonderful.
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you guys thank the organizers, thank Irene and Christina and Yasser, Mia and Maha and all the folks who work so hard to keep MyFest running. And just to mention, it was really in our last session. Um, I think it was something that I attended. I don't know if it was the one of the theater ones, or if it was one of the other improvisational ones. It might have been the book club. I don't know. There's so many great sessions in MyFest, but one of those inspired me to want to share our latest netprov, um, Emotion29 with you all. And I feel like this is a nice way to wrap up at least my contributions to MyFest 24 this year. Um, but before I get started, just because I've had a chance, well, I mean, just for the sake of anybody who only watches this video or just tunes on briefly here and didn't watch any of the previous sessions. So my name is Mark Merino, and I teach at the University of Southern California, where I teach classes in writing and sometimes digital making and sometimes critical code studies and a few other things. And this is my second year in MyFest. And let me turn it over to Rob so he can introduce himself.
Hey everybody, I'm Rob. I have been involved in online written creativity for a very long time, since the 1980s. Some very early experiments, and have done a lot of basically kind of comedy and social critique based creative works for many years. I am currently a guest researcher at the Center for Digital Narrative in Bergen, Norway, and I've had the pleasure for about 10 years now of doing a lot of projects that we call netprov projects, which is using digital writing and image making tools to create narratives collaboratively with my good friend Mark.
And Rob's being a slight bit modest here. He's the person who coined the term netprov, and he's written extensively about it. His book is online and it's free and open access, but you can also buy a print copy if you like to buy print copies. And we'll put the link in the chat in just a little bit. But I just want to start people off with a little prompt in the chat that you can just reply to, and that is, and I'll post it as well. And that is what we just finished up the Olympics, but in the parallel Olympics that they had the emotional Olympics were running for the last 2 weeks. I wanted to hear, what event did you compete in the emotional Olympics, and how did you do? So I'll put that in the prompt. So what event did you compete in the emotional Olympics, and how did you do? And you can just put your replies in the chat, and then I'm gonna sort of do a little screen sharing stuff while you guys are answering those questions. And let's see. Make sure I share the right screen. Oh, Christina was on a vacation, a very contemplative vacation. Okay, so maybe the contemplation event. That sounds like that might be a marathon event, like a long running, like one of those 1,500-meter swim type events. I was fourth place in individual patience under stress competition, just out, just out of the medals. But I do hear there's an inquiry into that though, Rob. So you might still have a chance yet. There might be.
Yeah, somebody got angry for about 4 seconds, but I don't know. We'll let the judges handle that.
Yeah, good. And while you guys are answering that, I'm going to just put up on the screen the Meanwhile NetProv Studios site, which I can also put a link in the chat if you'd like. And this is just the site for our collaborative studio. And just in the spirit of the last session of interdisciplinarity, and sort of rethinking our institutions. If you decide you ever want to put a netprov in one of your projects, if you're teaching and you want to just work one in, then consider Meanwhile Netprov Studios as your partner. We'd be happy to help you dream it up and adapt one of the ones we've created already, or help you come up with a new one. So Thea has got synchronized expectation juggling. Oh my goodness, I love this. Depending on the judge, my scores vary between DQ'd and placing first. I love it. That is awesome. Well, let me introduce you to our latest netprov, which is Emotion29. And so let me just give you the premise for this. So out there in the world, or just lately, do you feel like there's a new emotion you've been feeling? Or maybe is there an emotion that you've been feeling that you didn't used to feel so intensely, but now you're feeling it intensely? And we want you to, for this little writing game, we want you to try to feel that recall that feeling and really recognize it. You know, was it something new, or was it a combination of existing emotions, like, I don't know, like hopeful regret, or jealous happiness, or fearful curiosity, or maybe you can't quite put it into words yet. So we have a few writing prompts that'll help you capture that experience. And we framed it as a writing game with a premise. So I'll make this a little bigger so it can, and I'll read it for you guys. So this is our invitation. Actually, only because I got him here. Rob, can you read the invitation for us?
Okay. All right. What is it like to feel Emotion 29? Researchers at Berkeley have identified 27 emotions. An even more recent study of the human face catalogs 28. But like many of you, since August of last year, we've been experiencing a 29th emotion. Similar to the others in most respects, Emotion 29 has this peculiarity. It emerges quite differently in different people, sometimes with almost opposite characteristics. It's as though evolution has opened a new category of emotion, a wild card category, a capacity that develops uniquely in each individual. Yes, there are sometimes overlaps, harmonies, and sentiment clusters among those with similar E29 flavors. These create amazing memories and strong bonds. But scientists lack basic information about how Emotion 29 forms and is experienced. That's where you come in. We need your raw data in our data system. In order to maintain the strict standards of an octuple blind emotion study, only texts of fiction and imagination can be used. We need short fictional journal entries, condensed dialogues, text messages, song lyrics, inner monologues, and more.
All right, great. And so for this netprov, often we like to put them on different platforms just to explore, different writing environments, and then also to, I don't know, I think it's part of what scratches our creative itch. And so for that reason, we adapted a platform from Serge Bouchardon and Erica Fulop, and called Babel Revolution. And I'm going to put this link in the chat for you all to go to now. And you'll see that it starts out with just one little bubble there. It says Emotion 29. And it says Emotion 29 is emerging all across the world. Researchers initially believe it to be positive emotion, agree or disagree. Now there is a question about how accessible this or not accessible this site is. So again, if this website is not, if you're not able to type on it for any reason, feel free to put the contents of your replies in the chat, the Zoom chat. That'll be just as well, and they'll get recorded there. So you're not seeing the bubble. Do you see the Emotion 29 circle, Jenny?
No, I don't. My screen says Babel Revolution, and that's it. There's nothing else on it.
Okay.
Does say session/182.
You might want to, if you wonder if you resize and reload that screen, if it'll show up. I don't know, because it's only one bubble right now.
Okay. Got it.
And did it show up this time?
It did,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, yeah. Again, and again, now we're into that world of like, you know, where Rob and I tend to be sometimes early adopters of systems that we didn't build, and so it's like, okay, hoping this works the way I think it does. So what'll happen on this system is I'm going to release a series of little prompts, and you guys can reply to them. And again, if you can't do it on Babel Revolution, you can do it in the chat. And we do have this first one actually is a prompt. You could respond to this. Emotion29 is emerging all across the world. Researchers initially believe it to be positive emotion, agree or disagree. And this system was built for a different kind of writing game that had a little bit more to do with propositions than it did emotions. But I don't know, we still have gotten a lot of mileage out of this. We really enjoy it. So I'm going to put another prompt here on the screen. Give me one moment. Okay, let me these are called decrees. I'm going to put another one out.
And remember that as you choose a pseudonym, you are most welcome and encouraged, in fact, to choose a character that you're playing. So it doesn't have to be you as you. It can be. There's no reason it can't be, but it can be a character who is either quite similar or quite different from you.
Yeah, or someone you know who's been experiencing strong emotions. Yeah, that can be quite liberating.
Yeah,
Rob is 100% right.
Yeah, novelists, the way novelists do, where you take reality and you heighten it in a way.
So here's your first prompt. It's called similes. It says compare Emotion29 to something that is not an emotion and contains no words referring to emotions. So it could be a color, it could be a flavor, it could be a sound, it could be an item of clothing, it could be a pet. And again, we're writing about this emotion, this new emotion we're all feeling, but we might be feeling different. As it turns out, that emotion might be a very different one for each of us. So again, if you compared it to something, this emotion is like, you know, a simile, then you can respond to that decree. And to respond to that decree, you click on it. Let me make sure I see how this happens on your side of the interface. If I click on it, then it opens a box over here with that prompt. And if I have to click on write a message, and it opens a little message writing tab where I can put the title of the message. I can put a pseudonym for myself. And it says what's its response to. I can call this a supporter, dissident, or undecided. That's not really that important in the way we're playing this.
So just be alerted that my sense is that whatever the last kind of question that's posted, the response will be to that. So just before you publish your comment, look carefully at that in response to and make sure that you're attaching to the one that you want to.
Yeah, and you can either select, or I think if you click on the bubble, that's another way to select the one you're replying to. And again, if the Babel Revolution...
Yeah, that's what I think is, yeah. I'm not so sure that that's the case. I think it goes to the most recent one.
If that site is not working for you, again, you can always put your comments in the chat. And I should, just for the sake of clarity, describe what's appearing on the screen. So we have a bubble in the middle. It says Emotion29. Then there's a bubble connected to it that's in red that says E29 similes. And then there's a green one has shown up that's confusion. And then someone else has whelmed, has written, I would say my Emotion29 is mostly positive, but always tinged with a bit of wistful sadness.
And we always love to encourage people to, if something makes you smile, if you really like a particular post, when we're writing together in situations like this, we encourage you to read that out loud or make a little comment. Just unmute yourself and make a little comment. It's one of the best ways to kind of create a group spirit and to acknowledge other people's creativity. And I will model that by saying that I just love the foundational post in this session is written by the Center for Feels, which I just love. And I'm already envisioning the giant Center for Feels building in Washington, D.C., or maybe it's in London, with its padded doorknobs and, you know. But I just love Center for Feels.
Okay, I'm gonna release another prompt while you guys, again, there's no hurry, no anything, but I will release a new decree. Okay, so there's a new prompt, and this is a message. A friend experiencing emotion 29 leaves you a voice message. Write the transcription of what they say. So again, imagine you've got a voicemail from a friend. They're experiencing the emotion. What does that look like? And again, feel free to use, Rob loves to use all the orthographic tools at your disposal. So feel free, you can use all caps and ellipses and whatever else, parentheses to capture what their message sounds like, misspellings, etc. In the meantime, I'm going to read Linea's Mist and Clouds. E29 is like a misty fjord with tree-covered mountains plunging into the sea and clouds rolling over them slowly. The optimist writes, whatever happens, not sure. Ninja Fred writes, emotion 20 is like a full moon on a cloudy night, sometimes bright and sometimes not so much. That's nice. Okay, and now just so I get some more prompts out, again, this is not a quiz, it's not a standardized test. This is just to get a few more prompts out there. Let's see. About physical signs. So I'm gonna throw out a prompt that says, describe the way you look to other people when you're experiencing emotion 29. And again, you can answer these in any order you want, or you can actually reply to other people's comments, I believe. Let me see if that's true. I should double check. Yeah, you can reply to other people's comments if you wish and build on what they've said in an improvised yes and kind of way. And Linnea, we got a message from a friend. Hi, I hoped you were there. I'm feeling like, I don't know, I don't get it. Like foggy, but awe-inspiring. Just not quite there yet. Wanted to talk it through. Call me. Oh, I love that.
Love it. That's so nice. And that's one of the things I love about netprov is that in our everyday real life writing, there are these beautiful, precious, just things that we do with words that often don't make it into literature. You know, they're lovely, but sometimes there can be a feeling that you have to write literature in a literary way, but I just always, netprov is a way for me of bringing my everyday writing into a literary context. And it's lovely. 200 years from now, people reading that message that Mark just read will just, it's lovely and casual and interesting.
Yeah, captures so much. I just feel the emotion so much. Oh my goodness. We got from Muddy, we've got Whelmed, or written by Whelmed rather, we've got this muddy emotion. My emotion 29 is like when you've been walking in an unexpected rain and you come home and later you see a sad muddy brown leaf on the floor just inside the front door. Oh my goodness. That's like a William Carlos Williams. I love it. Okay, physical. We've got some physical replies. Whelm says, the weight of the world. E29 makes me look like I'm wearing a heavy backpack, but I am not. Yes, I've felt that weight of the world emotion.
I love Doggy Dave writing that E29 is like a curious cat. And continues, I've never gotten cats. I mean, I like to sleep on the couch, fetch a ball, but cats, sheesh. Again, that beautiful casual language. But lately I've been feeling more cattish. Like, why do I chase after balls? Why do I like getting scratched behind my ears so much? Will I ever catch my tail? Oh, that's great. That's a title of something, like a movie or something. Will I ever catch my tail? That's 21st century life there, right there.
Ninja Fred writes about message from a friend. Someone feeling emotion 29 would be bright-eyed and excited, ready to go, but also confused as they don't know where they are going. I feel like MYFest gives me that excitement. I feel like that might be my MYFest related E29. All right, I'm gonna just to keep us going, I'm gonna release another decree. You guys are doing great with these. I love seeing how you write, and I hope you guys are enjoying a little bit the way the like. Again, I just to describe it, we've got these bubbles on the screen. If you reload your screen, maybe if it hasn't updated, they kind of bounce around and jiggle a little bit in fun ways. Okay, let's try this one. I'm gonna put the dialogue one out there. So this is maybe a slightly different kind. So give a for exchange conversation between two people where one speaker is experiencing the emotion or the dialogue evokes the emotion in the listener. So again, so either one character is experiencing the emotion, and I recommend for that one, if that's a little bit of a tricky one for you, imagine that one character says something that triggers the emotion in the other person. That's a nice way to set up that exchange. So person one says something, person two now feels the emotion and reacts in some way. Then person one responds again, and then person two says something. So a nice little for exchange. And you could do more people or more exchanges if you wish, obviously. And the other one is that the two are having that conversation. And if somebody were watching that conversation or overhearing that conversation, they would feel the emotion strongly. So that's the other way to go. Again, this one can be a little, this one's a slightly different kind of prompt.
I love how there's this rain theme developing. It's really, it's lovely. And that, again, that's one of those joys of netprov, that you kind of find something inspires you. And I'm sure everybody else knew it, but I had to look up petrichor, which is the smell of fresh rain or something like that, which is a lovely, somebody has just taught me a very wonderful word that I will
I love
use
that.
in the future. But then that ozone smell, yes, absolutely. And I love that. I love comparing it to smells.
Going back to the physical expression of these emotions, Linnea gives us blank stare. People experiencing emotion 29 seem to be lost, staring blankly. But there is a lot going on, you can tell. It's just under the surface, rippling, but subtly. Oh, I love it. Nice. And again, like talk about, holy moly, like talk about like emotional world building, you know? I don't know. Sort of setting the stage or creating that sense of something going on. The other thing you can do is you can pull bubbles away, which I find remarkably satisfying, and I have no idea why I do. You can just drag them around the screen. This is that delightful system that Serge and Erica created. But there's something about it. I think when Rob and I saw this platform, we really liked the idea of like this amorphousness of it, or that it's emergent, you know, it just kind of reemphasizes that. Oh, we got a message from Tolino. Those spiky metal guards that prevent birds from landing, nesting on a roof. There are times when I see parts of the built environment that is really quite brutal or violent and meant to discourage certain behaviors, like those metal guards on park benches to prevent skateboarding, or the spikes on a roof to prevent birds from landing there. And there are times when I think I understand why it's there, but I still cheer for the birds whenever they manage to tear those spikes down. Oh my
That
goodness.
is so beautiful. That is
Yeah.
so beautiful.
Now
That's
it.
yeah.
Go ahead, Rob.
No, I was just gonna say it's one of my, I don't know, it's one of my favorite definitions of all kinds of art, or one of, I guess my personally one of my favorite kinds of art is an artist who shows you something that you've seen a million times, but you've never really noticed it and thought about it, and they reveal it.
Total poetry
Yeah.
snaps for that. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
That sort of
because
spirit
now
of revolution.
I'll never see those bird spikes the same way
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. A message from Whelmed is meh-ish. This is coming in from a friend who's feeling the emotion. That meeting was kind of shrugs, B, shrugs, rolls eye, meh, B, yeah, ish. This is the dialogue. I love it. It's just so delightful. I feel like I think I may have attended that same meeting. So here we go. From Optimist, they only carried a flag and water bottles. we watched as the police shot at the kids on the street. They are so young. We thought and stood helpless as the kids carried their shot friends like they were in a battlefield. But they were just on the streets. Oh,
Wow. Wow.
That's one of those, like, don't make me cry. Come on. That's
Wonderful.
Not nice.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
All right, now I need to transition us into the second. There's a second half to Emotion29. There's a second, and typically we do the second half on our Reddit, but I think we might just do it in the chat. But let me show what that. So
Yeah.
you guys don't feel like you have to stop writing it if you're still working on one of your prompts. Keep working, and we can expand that infinitely. And this is a private session of. I know we're recording this, but currently this is a private session of Emotion29. So again, this is the kind of thing that you could, if you want to do with your students or with other people, you could just let us know, and we'd be happy to set up a session for you on this platform. Or you could return to this session, this session 182 at any time, and you could build onto it until we close it. At some point, we might close it, you know, if it started getting spammed or something. So the second half of Emotion29 asks you to take off of your hat as the person who's expressing the emotion, and to join us now as an emotional scientist. And your job now is to observe the kinds of emotions that you're seeing showing up. So we've got various prompts related to that, and I can copy these out and put them in the chat. Again, if you wanted to, I will share the link to the Reddit. You are welcome to go there. But again, just because we have a nice intimate group and we're all doing this synchronously, we don't really need, we use the Reddit more for when we have student groups that are doing this asynchronously. So you can see that there's like various threads. There's a start here thread. There's a trends. Trends might be a nice one to start with. So the trends prompt is, what trends do you notice in accounts of Emotion 29? So you could just, and what that's asking you to do is literally to go back to our Babel Revolution page, take a look, or just think about things you've heard, and just note some, like, what did more than one person seem to express the same thing? I guess Rob has already started us down this line. He said, oh, look, it's interesting. There's more than one person bringing up rain. Maybe that's something that's kind of coming up. And again, if there's something that you noticed that seemed like a commonality, you could remark upon that as a trend. And maybe, and while you're doing that, if you notice, hey, you know what, even though there's this trend, I notice there's some outliers that seem like they're experiencing a very, very different kind of emotion. And that's another question that we ask. And again, a lot of us are teachers, so don't feel like this is a test or homework or anything like that. This is just to spur conversation. So in other words, I know I'm putting these prompts I'm throwing them at you a little faster than I would like to, but just to put them out there, and you can answer what you will. Like, again, we're just trying to think about, let you make observations. So maybe you're noticing trends, but then you come across somebody and you're like, wow, this person's feeling something really different. And Rob's leading the way for us. He's doing some good modeling. He says, I think we need to collaborate with the meteorologist. The preliminary data is pointing towards some smell-based prompting that cultivates folks' E29 and helps the emotions flower. Okay. Good.
I love how the rain, people just picked right up on that, and that the rain is really
And while you guys are working on that, I do feel obligated to share with you guys the Wheel of Feels, one of my favorite of the things that came out of this. Of course, I love getting artificial intelligence to generate images a little bit too much at this stage in its development, because they tend to be totally wacky. So the Wheel of Feels has, I prompted it to generate 29 feelings. And of course, it just it creates this image of emojis on a wheel, different colors, with mostly illegible text. you know, there, I don't know, Rob, are you seeing any words? So see,
I
like,
am. Well, I have to expand it, but you know me, the thing that I love these days about AI is how AI imagery butchers language in such an interesting way. But yeah, I think I for sure have felt Lily Pavgornabali, which is right at the
oh yeah, I see that on the
at
left-hand side.
yeah, at the 9 o'clock position
Uh-huh.
on the wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I see over at 3 o'clock on the rim, there's Shane's. I think I felt a little bit of Shane's. Oh, and right below that, I see on the emoji rib, there's something that looks a little bit like Cthulhu. That
yeah.
just says selfed. I'm not sure where do you feel
Yeah, I
that
think that.
Cthulhu
Oh
emoji. But
yes, yep. I think when we're getting criticized at work and feeling like we don't have many friends at work, then I selfed. I think we all.
so we're getting a few more reactions on some people noticing some emotions. We got Christina notices a cloud theme. Good.
Yes.
And then of course Thea points out that this reminds them of the human systems emotion wheel for sure. Yeah, that largely was our inspiration for this insanity. And then Christina says there are a couple of cat related ones too. And Thea notices on the wheel of feels there's booty cuties on the bottom. That's an emotion you might feel.
Yes.
I'm going to go back to our prompts just for a second because as we kind of get on the time. So based on this, what you've seen, a question is, do you have any recommendations for society? I mean, again, I feel like I need to join in this observation one because I feel like there was a lot of like there were some that were like emotions on the threshold. I feel like of something new.
Yeah.
I feel like I saw some of that, and that's one that Rob and I have been paying attention to a lot, especially coming out of the pandemic and things like that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, with this group especially, sometimes when we're just having a play session, we just go ahead and play. But with this group, I think we can share that, as happens often with artworks, we began to realize once Emotion29 was up and running, we began to see kind of more about where it came from. And I agree with Mark that I think it in large part is kind of a response to COVID and the lockdown, and also it's if you see a lot of the unrest around the world, kind of reactionary politics kind of coming back up. So much of it is fear of change, terror of change, and so we wanted, I guess, consciously, subconsciously, unconsciously, we wanted to kind of provide a place for people to talk about change and newness and maybe make it more understandable and livable, because things are not going to stop changing as much as people desperately, and I can sympathize. They want to turn back the clock, but
so some other observations. Christina notices there are a couple related to power, oppressive systems. And
yes.
Irene notices that there's a thread about animal and birds invasion, a bully dog and some bully crows and birds. Yes, indeed. Yeah. Uh-huh. And there's one more thing, one more prompt I want to throw out there. Again, this is like too many prompts, but another thing that the Reddit board asks is the emotion of exploring emotions, which asks you, how do you feel as you read the reports of this emotion? How does it make you feel? And again, it always, I don't know, it's similar to what Rob's describing. Like, I get kind of excited. I am so detached from my own emotions that anytime we have this discussion explicitly, I just get excited. It just makes me happy because I find something very affirming. And again, it's something obviously, like psychologists and normal human beings have understood for centuries, but I'm only coming to this awareness that like when we have this space where we can just share our emotional, where we are, like someone just asking you like, where are you right now? And then listening and then comparing notes a little. I don't know. I just find it super fulfilling. I know, again, in ways that would be obvious, like I said, to maybe perhaps more evolved beings.
I want to give a
Oh,
quick shout out to Linnea. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that name as the author or was intending, but a wonderful little theme. Somebody kind of taking a a netprov pseudonym, taking a theme and working with it. So there was a preliminary sense of Emotion29 coming up and wishing they could talk with a friend, and then in another post there's the conversation with a friend, a lovely conversation, again containing rain, but dealing with new feelings, new emotions.
can I bring us all in out of the writing experience for a little bit in the few minutes we have left, just to talk and to see what you thought of the experience? And I want to start, Christina, I know you're facilitating, but can you talk about your reaction to as you're reading through these?
Sure, sure. Yeah, I put something into the chat that it was really fun and very interesting, and I found myself being incredibly curious, like reading all of these. Every time a new one came up, I was like searching which one is the new one. That is one thing that was a little challenging with this one, was you couldn't tell which one you hadn't read yet, so I'd be clicking around a lot. But also feeling like, oh, some of these resonate so much, like I can just picture myself in that feeling. But some of them were also kind of about how it's hard to fully grasp this feeling, whatever it is. And so that was kind of interesting. Plus, I guess something I didn't put into the chat is just really that it was fun and freeing. Like, like sort of no pressure, because you could be anonymous, right? So you don't have to attach your name to anything. And just like really sort of creative type prompts that made you be able to just sort of play, and I found that really enjoyable. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's something about the ineffability or the ineffable quality of these emotions, I think, that all the prompts are going for. That again, I guess, I don't know, could be maybe all literature goes for, I guess, whatever. But but still, it feels like that's what it's reaching for. Jenny, you look very thoughtful, and that might mean you're trying to answer emails that have to do with work, but it could mean that you're reflecting on this. What were your thoughts?
I have to say, my brain always goes to, okay, how can I use this?
Which is great.
And to me, it's sort of fun and freeing. And I'm wondering if, someone was using it in a teaching environment, maybe a way to kind of loosen people up, but get the wheels turning and doing with no pressure, since it's anonymous. So if you could get buy-in from the students on doing something like this, then it might sort of grease the wheels for other conversations or other tasks. I know. I really was trying to take this in the form of play that you intended, and I said my brain just always goes, oh, how can I use this?
Well,
But no,
Mark has taught with netprov a lot, but I find that the times that I've been able to really do it in the context of a writing class where you have time, like a project like this, I might suggest if it's a twice a week class. My class was a studio class, so almost 2 hours each class, and twice a week you'd spend the whole first week in class writing on the first part of this, just lots of data, like filling the thing with lots and lots of data. And then the second week, kind of a week of reflection and thinking. And I would try to really get students to read the things that they liked out loud, because it's just, it's a nice moment of confirmation. And especially when it's anonymous, somebody just reads it out loud. It's like, oh, and the person who wrote it goes, oh, somebody liked my thing. And last thing I'll say is just that a lot of the netprovs that we do and that are in the book, a book is full of recipes of things that you can do in class, and short ones, long ones, but often writing in the form of text messages, or like in the form, gets students, even students that when it's like I have to put on my writing hat and do college writing and, or do school writing, that just bogs down. But they're writing messages all the time. They're writing a lot, and just tapping in on that and saying it's okay to write just like that, I found people just loved it. And students were just like exhilarated by the end of the class.
Yeah, and the other thing I just want to throw out there is just building on what you guys were all saying is, Jenny, that's very much in our thinking with these projects. We develop them. We do these 2 or 3 times a year, definitely one in the fall and one in the spring. We'll develop a new netprov, and then we'll just reach out to people and say, hey, if anybody wants to use this, let us know. And we create a set of teaching materials. Like there are pre-writing prompts for this that we didn't share that I think might be, let me see if I have that on the, it's not on the public announcement page. I'll have to share it on a different page, but we have, okay, hold on. Yeah, here it is. So even on this page, our little public announcement document, we've got some of these questions. When did you first feel the emotion? What does your face look like, etc. So I gave these to my students as pre-writing assignments before we even entered the Babel Revolution platform. So they had already been thinking, writing like in a little form. I have them just answer these questions about how are they feeling, and trying to think about putting language to those feelings. And then often we have like, I don't think we have any right here on this document, but often we have recommended other readings that they can go to, and videos they can watch to sort of give a context. But again, we kind of see the netprov as something that's like a ready to go unit someone could just sort of insert into their class. And the other thing, Rob used that word recipes that are, that he's got in his book. Any netprov we've ever done, and we've done, how many have we done so far, Rob?
40, I think.
So any of the netprovs we've done, you're welcome to make use of. Usually the platform is still there, or we can help you adapt to, if you, again, any of these things, like sometimes we'll run into a few obstacles with people who say, oh, my students can't access this platform for whatever reason, and we can help you dream up the Google Doc version, the paper version, the, whatever. They're not, I love platforms a little too much because I like seeing what they do. But since platforms tend to be taken over by, monomaniacal, children, and then they change how that platform works. I'm not going to name any names, but like if you made electric cars, why should you buy like a social media platform, then destroy it? But anyway, but since that happens, sometimes we've got to adapt. Irene, do you want to say your comment?
Oh, no, there's an activity that I do that is that I call delightful curiosity, where I use questions like, what is the smell of Tuesday? What is the color of Sunday? So it makes the participants think in a different way, and eventually I now went on to ask them to create something in AI, about the color of probably their best Sunday or something like that.
Oh, I love it.
And people
great.
come up with it. Yeah. So it actually brings me to that. And but I was also wondering the accessibility for people who have some or enabled differently or have some disabilities. How accessible is the what you've just shared with us? That kept on coming to my mind.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I was thinking about that as well. And Irene, I don't know for the specific platform. And I think if you were aware of different abilities in your classroom, you might have to switch to Google Docs or something like that.
Okay.
Rather than this platform, because I don't know what a screen reader does with this tool or things like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's a good one. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
But I love it. And two things I just want to throw out real quick. One is, you know that I use AI to generate those beginning check-in questions. for my class. And I actually find that a pretty good use of AI. And the other thing I want to throw out there was that the last couple of netprovs Rob and I have been doing have really been looking at emotions that like a change we see happening. So we did one, I don't know, Rob, can you describe Zeitgeist really quickly? So our last netprov right before E29, this has a little bit of premise here, but it was called Zeitgeist.
Yeah,
and
actually, I just happen to have the invitation right here.
Okay.
So, Zeitgeists, shy hipster time travelers from all over history are appearing to hang out and help out and dance. Which ones have you seen? How are they helping you let go of the past and enjoy the future? So that's the short version. And the longer version is, by now it's clear the Zeitgeists are trying to help us. They're quirky AF, but they're empathic and smart. They're not dead in any traditional sense. They just step around in time. In fact, they are twice as alive now and alive elsewhile. We made this discussion group for people ready to share stories about Zeitgeist friendships and Zeitgeist parties, and as a way to connect with the many other Zeitgeist groups forming around the world who are imitating Zeitgeist styles and ways. Who have you met? How have you partied? We know the basics that everyone knows. They're from avant-gardes and creative youth movements of the past. Hippies, beatniks, zoot suits, and even older ones from all over the world. Thus the extravagant clothing. And being from the past, they have no taste for our modern addictions. If a cell phone is near, Zeitgeists won't appear. Their arrival is preceded by the faint sounds of an approaching train. They love human connection. They communicate in gesture and in writing. And they love to dance. Lost dances, unique dances. We've also come to suspect, as some historians have, that they're from moments of exuberant relief after historic calamities. But Zeitgeists don't want to focus on where they come from. They want to know where we're coming from and where we think we're going. They want to listen, to share, and then dance. So that's Zeitgeist.
So again, there were these people from different time periods that would come and appear, and they couldn't talk. They could only dance and encourage dance. And they were all about change, about something that's happening, you know, again, tapping into that notion of zeitgeist, something that's happening in the world, a change is coming, and helping to facilitate the change in the fictional character that our students would create. So they would create both their own fictional character, and then they would create the zeitgeist who is visiting. So and in fact, let me share the teacher docs for that one, so you guys can see that in case you want to use it in the future, or again, just to give you a sense of the types of things we do. So I know we're coming on time, and I just want to make sure before we go that once again we thank everybody that's here, and we remind you guys that if you're, and of course anybody watching who's been part of MYFest, if you're interested in incorporating netprov into your classroom, obviously you can just take these ideas and run with them and change them however you want. But if you'd like us to assist you in that process, just reach out to us. And again, we're also too happy to put you on our little mailing list of teachers who might want to hear about the latest netprov, because sometimes it's fun to play them when they're live, because I'll bring my whole host of students. Rob might have some students to bring, and there might be other featured players who are playing intently at that time.
We get people of all ages from all over the world that come and play, and some of them we know who they are, and some of them we don't.
All right, so I think with that, we probably have to leave you for today, but thank you so much. Thank you, MYFest, and thank you all for playing and for your creativity and sharing your emotions. That was really great. I really felt that. I was so touched.
Thank you so much, Mark and Rob. That was wonderful, and such a creative, fun activity. Really just encapsulates a lot of what MYFest is about, and just really enjoyed that. So thank you to Irene and Nadine for putting in the feedback form into the chat. So please fill that out for this session. Take a couple of minutes to do that would be great. And thanks so much too for to both of you for offering to help people if they want to use any of these in their courses. I think that's wonderful. So that's a thing I may be reaching out about.
Absolutely. Yeah. More play. More play.
Don't hesitate. And
Yeah.
like I said too, you know, again, if you have an idea for one that you just think it would be fun to do, but you're not quite sure how to structure it or whatever, we're happy to help facilitate that as well.
Wonderful. All right, I'm going to stop the recording and we'll say goodbye.
Okay.